Okay, now I want to go through how you should be attacking these four modules in the Claude Partner Network learning path in the Anthropic Academy. So just a quick thing before we get into actually going through, I just want to discuss what your goal should be. So when you're going through these, your goal should be to be forming a basic foundational knowledge of Claude across these four topic areas. The material will be teaching you facts, and the exam itself is going to be asking you to apply those facts to business cases. Mastering these four topics is not going to guarantee you success on the CCAF exam. However, if you fail to form that basic understanding, you're going to struggle with the questions on the exam later. With that said, what you should be trying to do at this point is to move quickly through these sections. I recommend that for your first pass through that you do more of a skimming style approach, and you really should only be slowing down when you see a concept that you're completely unfamiliar with. Like anything in life, the best way to actually make sure something sticks is to be applying it. So our goal here isn't to be spending a lot of time reading and watching videos and just consuming information that's going to pass through your mind and not be retained because you didn't apply it. Our goal is to digest information, the most key pieces of information as quickly as possible, and then move on to testing our knowledge of that information and applying it in an environment where you can actually access that information. And that means moving quickly. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into one of these sections and I can show you my recommended approach for how to attack. So let's look at this first section, Introduction to Agent Skills. And then as we click in, what you're going to see is that there's 6 different sections in here, but really you should be looking at these as basically 2 different types of sections. One type of section is your conceptual style section. And these are going to be the sections that ask you things like what and why. If you look at the breakdown of the materials here, that's stuff like what are skills or configuration and multi-file skills, which is going to tell you about what these configurations are and the multi-file skills are. And then also the skills versus other Claude code features, which is going to help you differentiate between these two. The other kind of section that you're going to run into are the how-to lessons. And these lessons are going to get more into teaching you how to actually do something in Claude. They're going to be more granular. The lessons that fall into that kind of category are the creating your first skill, sharing skills, and troubleshooting skills. So the reason I ask you to break these apart is because you need to be approaching them differently. The conceptual ones are the ones that you really need to have a strong concept of for these exams. Let's go ahead and click into one of these and I'll show you how you're going to attack the conceptual lesson. For any of these lessons, just right off the bat, do not watch the video. That is going to cause you to spend more time and it's going to put you in a situation where you're more of a passive consumer of information rather than someone who's actively engaging with the information that is being presented to you. What you should be instead doing is coming down straight into this key takeaway section right here. So for the conceptual lessons, what I recommend that you do is read thoroughly through the key takeaways. And when you see that there's a concept in here that you do not understand, what I recommend that you do is you spend some more time with that concept in the lesson below. So let's say it was this personal skills go into this Claude skills folder versus the project skills go into this one. If you've never seen that concept before, what I recommend that you do is you come down and to the section. You're going to see these bold sections, and I want you to find right here where you see this concept emerge again. You should read this entire bolded section about where skills live. And then this will help you to digest why you put skills into certain sections. And will also help you spend a little bit more time with this concept so that these 2 file formats are going to be more likely to stick in your mind when you're quizzed on them later on. Okay, so that is for the conceptual lessons. Now let's look at an example for the how-to lesson and what I recommend you do here. So same kind of idea in mind. Don't watch the video, skip straight to the key takeaways. But for this section, all you're really going to need to do is just go over these key takeaways. You should not need to spend any time going down into these bolded areas because these are going to get more into the nitty-gritty detail of how to do this, which, while it is certainly a nice thing to know if you ever want to be building your own skills, the best time to be studying this section is when you're actually doing that task yourself. And it's also not going to be super necessary for the exam itself. Okay, that covers off how I would attack these.